that we could bring in some of the effective practices to inform the other type. The other type would be that you've got a much lower percentage of low-income student, and yet you are not performing as well as the other child. So we need to think about some of these outlying analysis and think about what is statistically significant in terms of the test scores and so on. And I think that's just one example where we need to look at, once we invest in a school improvement strategy, we need to track it and then see what are some of the comparison schools. Are they doing better than comparison school or not? And can we learn from the more effective ones to inform the less effective ones? So we need to differentiate.
What data are you gathering then on those more exemplary charter schools? I mean, or what data are you gathering on all of the schools other than student achievement to help make this distinction?
Yeah, we actually have a partnership with all the campuses. So we actually have a lot of information on the whole management system, the incentive structure. It turns out that the incentive is very important. That is how the school principal push that accountability, create the incentives at the teaching level. And we also get a resource allocation, how much they spend on different types of, so we actually get their auditing data.
And are you looking at student, like how the student population evolves in terms of like, is it choice or, those kinds of
These are all choices. These are all based on lotteries. These are all based on lottery, and they are predominantly, as I said, some have high concentration of low-income students.
Right.
Low concentration. So in a way, one implication of this kind of analysis is that we should not let these schools off the hook, because they actually have students better prepared, right, ready to do their work, and how come they are not doing as well? So I would also, one of the implications is that we also need to put pressure on those schools to do a better job. Just moving along faster here. So the last point that I have is human capital development, retention, hiring as well as development. So what I want to emphasize here is that we need to think about internal candidates who aspire to become leaders. And oftentimes we forgot about those proven educators within your own system. Just look around and identify a subset of your potential aspiring leaders whom you can work with, cultivate, put them into more responsible positions, support them. And I'm in a partnership, our program, the Urban Education Policy Program, is in and Sam knows about it because I invited Sam to give a workshop in that learning leadership pathway. This is in Evansville, Indiana, which is a district of about 27,000 students. And they have identified their internal pipeline to train. So we are training there both on-site and off-site. I organize a lot of learning tours, visits to visit some other urban districts so that they could learn from other districts. So we're creating a network for them. Plus bring in researchers and practitioners to talk about their exciting work so that they would develop comfort in using data, developing a school community partnership, creating comfort level of talking about their work and building internal relationship, and so on. So we've been doing it for 3 years now, and so the state has recognized this becoming an alternative leadership track. So I've been signing all these certified that they graduated from our LLC, and they are now ready to lead a school or a unit in Central Office. And the other point that I want to make is that this is a very tough question. But I think this is something that we need to think about this more carefully, and that is we need to create incentives for teachers, particularly effective teachers, to be able and willing and committed to teach in high-need schools. And so this is again a bigger resource allocation challenge for the district, as well as particularly the districts will be intended. the new teacher project actually identified a strategy that we talked about that earlier, and that is, there is not a monolithic labor force. There is a fair amount of variations, right? How do we differentiate different types of teacher? And for those teachers who are persistently less effective, maybe we need to counsel them out. For those who are very effective, we need to give them more autonomy, more incentive for them to lead. And so I just want to encourage you to think about your own work and your own group of educators that you work with as not so much a monolithic group of professionals, but a diverse group of people where you want to think about their strengths and weaknesses and how to make use of that system. So coming back finally, just to conclude, I think we are talking about two types of accountability and how do you sustain them in terms of your practice. So one is to improve and continue to challenge ourselves internally. So with regard to internal accountability, we already talked about setting strategic goals and think about resource allocation and so on. And external accountability is the one that I feel that oftentimes when I work with administrators and principals and teachers, oftentimes they did not pay as much attention to external accountability. That's why I put it down here as well. And that is we need to fully leverage and utilize some of the resources out there and be able to continue to build that trust and relationship and make your decision more transparent and share the evaluation data with a larger audience. So the question for the pace setting district would be, is the timing appropriate for some of these initiatives, restructuring or accountability reform, or bringing in external service providers? Is the timing right? I think this is a critical question, because if your districts are hesitant, then the timing may not be right. So you need to do some prep work in order to get to the right time, right? So what would it take for you folks as a team to really create a condition that would get to the right time? And what designs work for the district, and who are some of the key institutional players that would contribute. And I want to underscore again, the union, I think, needs to be part of this conversation. And I thought that, at least this morning, I didn't hear much conversation about their role and how do we get them to be part of this activity. And then what is the opportunity cost in maintaining the status quo? So in other words, if we think about data collection, we will create a baseline. We will think about the comparison school or comparison districts. If they are not exposed to some of the pace setting opportunities, where will they be in 2 years and 3 years? My hope is that we ought to have the right expectation. That is because of the support available through CII and pace setting initiative, then we ought to be thinking that in 2 years, 3 years, this is where we are compared to the other comparison districts that are comparable in terms of their social demographic characteristics, but are not exposed to the CII benefits. I think we need to think about that, and then see if we could, and see if that is going to realize or not. So in order to realize that, I would underscore that we need to have a functional governance, invest in capacity and bring about innovation and think about a human capital pipeline. Thank you very much.